Today we have an absolutely incredible story for you. It's about a woman who was celebrated, even revered, for her ability to bring life into the world. But she would eventually use those very same skills to deliver a message of terrifying justice. This is the story of Esther, an enslaved midwife who turned her healing hands into an unforgettable weapon.
I mean, that quote, it just sends a chill down your spine, doesn't it? It comes from the oral history of what happened on a Mississippi plantation back in 1859. It perfectly captures the mystery and the shock of it all. But to really understand the smoke, you have to understand the fire that started it all. So let's set the scene. It's the morning of September 23, 1859. We're at the Thornhill Plantation in Covington County, Mississippi. The sun is coming up, just like any other day, but what the people on that plantation were about to discover was a scene of absolute horror. Four of the most powerful men on that plantation, the owner, his son, the overseer, and the local doctor, were all found in different places. Each had been surgically castrated with an almost unbelievable level of precision. They were alive, yeah, but they were forever unmanned. And the one person who connected them all, Esther, the trusted midwife, she was gone, just vanished. So the question wasn't just who did this, but how on earth did they pull it off? To really wrap our heads around what happened on that morning, we've got to rewind the clock. 17 years, to be exact. Because Esther's story, it didn't begin with violence and bloodshed. No, it began with a deep, profound knowledge of healing. And that gift, well, that would eventually become her weapon.
See, her name wasn't even Esther. That was the name given to her. Her real name was Esra, a Yoruba name that means patience rewarded. And where she came from, she was the granddaughter of a famous healer. She carried generations of ancestral medical knowledge with her. They stole her freedom, they stole her family, but the one thing they couldn't take was what was locked inside her mind, the secrets of anatomy, of plants, of surgery.
And that knowledge, it was extraordinary. On the Thornhill Plantation, she became a living legend. Think about this. In her years there, Esther delivered 43 white babies for the wealthiest families around, and she never lost a single one. Not one. This earned her a level of trust that was just unheard of for an enslaved person. They trusted her with their wives, with their children, their entire legacy.
But here's the brutal, sickening contradiction of her life. For all her life-saving skill, she was still legally property. In 1845, she was bought for $1,200, a priceless healer valued as a mere object, like an expensive piece of equipment for producing heirs. You hear about this respected status, this special treatment, but beneath all that was a horrifying reality. The position she held, the one that let her save all those lives, came at a terrible, unspeakable cost.
For 14 long years, Esther was systematically and repeatedly raped by those four men she would one day target: Colonel Thornhill, his son Edmund, the overseer McKinney, and Dr. Parrington. And she endured it all in silence. Why? To protect the family she'd managed to build, her husband Samuel, and the absolute light of her life, her little girl Grace.
But that silence was shattered on September 1st, 1859. Esther was away, delivering another baby, when her 7-year-old daughter, Grace, was brutally raped and murdered. The man who did it? The colonel's son, Edmund Thornhill. Just like that, the future Esther had fought so hard to protect, the very reason she endured everything, it was gone. As she held her daughter's body, the oral history says she didn't just break down. Instead, all that grief, it transformed, it crystallized into something cold, something sharp, something absolute. The healer was gone, and in her place, an avenger was born. So for the next 3 weeks, Esther didn't just sit with her grief. She planned. And make no mistake, what she was planning wasn't a crime of passion. It wasn't a blind act of rage. No, this was a surgical operation, designed with the exact same care and precision she used to bring a child into the world.
Her plan was just genius in a terrifying way. First, she studied her targets, learning every single one of their routines. Then, she used her knowledge of plants to create a paralytic drug from things growing right there on the plantation, a drug that would leave her victims awake and aware, but totally unable to move or scream. She sharpened her tools and practiced the procedure 17 times on animal carcasses until it was second nature. And she even had her escape route lined up, a contact on the Underground Railroad. This is where you can really see her brilliance at work. She turned their own predictable behaviors into weapons against them. The colonel's daily nap, a perfect window of opportunity. Edmund's nightly drinking binges, another one. The overseer coming home drunk every Saturday, the doctor's solitary morning walk. She exploited every routine, every single vice, with absolute precision.
Okay, so the plan is set. The date is chosen. Saturday, September 23rd. This was it. This was the night that Esther would deliver her final and most unforgettable message.
Over the next 16 hours, can you even imagine the nerve it took? She moved like a ghost across that plantation, from one target to the next. She started with the colonel during his afternoon nap and finished with the doctor on his walk just before dawn. Each act was timed perfectly. It was just chillingly efficient.
And for each man, the process was the same. She would administer the paralytic, and then, as they lay there helpless, conscious but unable to move a muscle, she would calmly explain exactly who she was, what she was about to do, and why. And she would invoke the name of her murdered daughter, Grace. She made sure they understood this wasn't random violence. This was justice.
And just like that, by dawn, she was gone, vanished into the Mississippi woods. But the impact of her actions, her legacy, that was just beginning. It would be a story whispered in secret for generations, long after the official records tried to make everyone forget her.
And this is so important, right? Because there are always at least two versions of history. The official version, the one written by the powerful, oh, it was just some act of savagery by a runaway slave. But the real story, the one passed down in the enslaved communities, the oral tradition, that's where Esther became a legend, a symbol of calculated resistance, a mother who delivered justice when the law gave her none.
So what happened to everyone? Well, her tormentors lived, but their power was shattered. They were broken men. And Esther, she made it. She got to Ohio on the Underground Railroad and lived the rest of her long life as a free woman, continuing to work as a midwife and train others. Her story even went on to inspire other acts of resistance. And her tombstone, it really says it all, doesn't it? 4 simple words: healer, mother, free. You know, a story like this forces us to confront a really uncomfortable and powerful question. It's one that really challenges our easy definitions of right and wrong. When a system that is supposed to provide justice completely and utterly fails you, what really is the difference between revenge and justice?